All right, so let's go to lesson 4, and we're going to read pages 36 and 37.
What page is lesson 4 on?
36 and 37.
37.
Okay, and while y'all are looking up that, Charlie, why don't you look up this verse, 1 Corinthians 4:2.
1 Corinthians 4:2.
Yeah, and James, you look up 1 Corinthians 13:11.
1 Corinthians 4:2.
And Jared, you look up Ephesians 4:1.
All right. Can you read it?
Not yet.
All right.
Not yet. And don't read those yet. We're gonna come back to those. I just thought I'd put all these out
1
first.
Corinthians what again one more time?
4:2.
4:2.
And then
4:2.
Steve, you look up Luke 16:10.
I had to get a tab on my Bible to where I could get to where I can find the page.
Some of those learning Bibles have it right in
Mm-hmm.
there. They got it all tapped out.
This is a free on the inside.
Yeah, it's good.
It's a penitentiary Bible.
Yeah.
From what I understand.
Yep.
1 Corinthians what? 4?
1 Corinthians 13:11. But we're not going to read those out loud yet. I'm just getting all this ready so we can go through and then stop as we need to. All right. So why don't we read one paragraph at a time, and Peter, let's start with you. We're at on lesson 4. So you'll start with where it starts with the definition of steward.
Steward. Now, a person who manages another property or financial affair. One who administers anything as the agent of another or others.
So-
Being a business owner or employer is a risk. Running a business is like operating a big machine with interlocking parts. You could think of it like the interlocking gears of an older watch. The only way for these gears of the machine to work is if all the parts operate on the right schedule. If the gears don't do their part at the right time, the watch comes to a stop. The same is true about running a business. Typically, the biggest risk a business owner takes is choosing who he will hire to do the jobs needed.
Okay, so you pick up from there. Patrick.
When you have a job, your most important role is as a trustee of the responsibility that your employer has given to you. This trust was placed in you when you were hired, and it was extended based on the expectation that you are going to help the machine the way it's designed.
What?
Going to help the way the machine is run the way. Having a job is a gift. The responsibility is to be a steward of this trust. If you perform poorly with a poor work ethic, it breaks that trust, and if you perform well, it builds the trust. The way you steward this trust reflects not only on you, but as a Christian, it reflects on Christ. You consistently show up late, complain all day, and work poorly. That is your witness in Christ to your employer, coworkers, customers. Your work ethic is an aspect of living a life worthy of your calling. We are all called to do our work as unto the Lord. This is as true about your work ethic as it is about stealing and sleeping around. Stealing and sleeping around are not a good witness of Christ in you, and having a poor work ethic is a poor witness as well. The Bible has a lot to say about being a steward and the standard with which God, who is a good steward and who is not.
Okay, so Steve, why don't you pick up from there?
Your greatest opportunity for the kingdom. Your work ethic is a representation of Christ's work in you. That Christ is in you should cause you to desire to be a good representative of Him. Just as you are a steward of your employment, you are also a steward of your witness for Christ. One of your greatest opportunities to model Christ in life is to your employer and your co-workers through your work ethic and through your relationship with other people you come into contact with at work. As you prove yourself faithful in your work ethic, you will have opportunities to share about Christ. This is what being a good steward should result in: earning the opportunity to talk about God and how He has changed you, loves you, and enjoys you. And then, as your work ethic improves, you probably will receive more pay, promotion, and opportunity. But that is not the point. It's not about you and the stuff you get for yourself. Possessions that you accumulate in this world will spoil, rot, and fade. But if you restore to accumulate for the kingdom, there will be a treasure in heaven which will not be lost. It's about being a good witness for Christ and His work in you.
All right, thank you. So, so with that illustration of the old, like a watch with the gears that all have to intermesh and things like that, do you all understand that?
Yes.
Well, I'm trying to describe that.
For sure.
So, what in your mind, if when you think about that, what do you think about if the gears don't work right? If if they're trying to
Stuff's
come
gonna
around.
pop out.
I think
Gears
that-
gonna come out of line.
I think that every part of the watch has a significant job.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what it is, no matter how big it is, or what color it is, or how many
Yeah.
points it has, or if it does the ticking, if it doesn't do the ticking, if it doesn't work, then the whole thing
Yeah.
messes up.
Yep.
It reminds me about the body parts. We're all having an argument about being who wanted to be boss. You ever
Yeah.
hear that?
Yeah.
You ever
Yeah.
heard that one?
No, go ahead and tell me.
Okay, well, the brain was saying, I want to be boss because I do all the thinking and I'm the most important. Well, no, the heart says, no, I pump the blood to the brain and it allows you to think, and the eye says, no, I do all the intake for all of you. And the mouth says, no, I represent. And then, of course, the legs say, hey, I take all you guys around. And then in the silence of it, they hear, I want to be boss. And they ask, who said that? And it was the butthole.
Yeah.
And the butthole's like, I want to be boss. Well, they all started laughing at him.
Yeah.
Well, he got mad and closed up.
Yeah.
After a while, the brain was foggy, the eyes couldn't see, the legs were weak, the mouth couldn't speak. Well, the moral of the story is, right? You could be a butthole and be a boss.
Yeah. That's funny.
Never heard that one. That's a good one.
Okay, so in your
Yeah,
own.
it's a very interesting
Yeah.
part.
Yeah.
Watches are very serious.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just
Yeah.
thrown together.
Yeah. So in your own experiences at work, so y'all have had jobs before. I mean, even if you haven't had jobs elsewhere, you have a job here now.
Right.
Like those green shirts, I love those green shirts.
I'm proud of my green shirt.
Yeah, good. So have you seen times at work in your past experiences where the gears weren't working right?
Right.
All right, we have all experienced that. Everybody can draw on that.
Our
So,
gears or somebody else's gears?
so if you think about an illustration where work or running a business or having a business is like a watch that has gears that all have to operate together
Oh,
for it to work. What experiences do you all have when that didn't work right because the gears weren't working right? Like the people weren't working together.
But a lot of people point out, oh, this guy ain't doing this guy
Yep.
ain't doing this,
Yeah.
and then it all breaks down. Even,
Yeah.
I mean, I know that guy's not doing that, and he's not doing
Yeah.
it okay. It makes my job a little more inconvenience,
Yeah.
but it still has to be done.
Yep.
And you
Yep.
pointing that out is really you trying to get some kind of accolade for yourself, because it's showing or pointing out someone else's inadequacies.
Yeah.
Really doesn't do anything for getting the job done.
Yeah, and so like when you're working, and I've had this happen, at my with my business when I've had workers, and like we did a big job a couple of weeks ago, and it was I mean we're washing windows, so I'm going to describe this and say it was a little intricate, but it's like we're washing windows, so it's where I had guys on the insides and they had to take out the window screens for me to be able to clean them with a really long pole on the outsides.
Right.
So that's not really complex, but they went to the wrong floor. And so I'm like, dude, you got to be on up on that other floor up there. And So anyway, it just messed stuff up for a while. So the gears were not working right, and everything came to a stop for a while.
What's your business?
Window cleaning.
But when it works well, the time flows fast.
Yeah.
The job
Yep.
gets done.
Yep.
Everyone's happy with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everybody has experienced stuff like that at work, where it's not meshing, the gears aren't meshing, and it messes the system up. So we'll move on from there. So in your
I like
mind,
this illustration you got here.
I like it too. God gave me that.
And I
Huh?
love the gears. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. So when you think of the term steward, what comes to mind? I know it's a sort of a biblical term, but
I think for me it shows like ownership or responsibility for a certain thing.
okay,
A manager of the particular subject or
okay. So like somebody who's responsible, a manager,
Overseer.
Person of higher status.
people, okay, person of a higher status. Peter, you got an idea? You got a thought about it?
It always makes me think of like Dave Ramsey talks about stewarding your money.
Okay,
Being a good steward.
yeah,
stewards of the earth, stewards
Being
of the
responsible.
garden, whatever.
okay. Steve?
Accountable.
Yeah, somebody be accountable. or-
Accountable. All right. Charlie, accountable. All right. Those are all good. So what does a steward do? So we may have just answered this question, but
Yeah.
like, you all think that's what they do?
Person who manages another's property or financial affairs. One who administers anything as the agent of another's affairs. Of another or others. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Okay.
the definition, but what do you mean, like,
What-
what do they do?
Well, it could be anything. It could be they steward the rules of the company, they steward money, they steward their family,
Yeah.
they steward the direction. I mean,
They're the leaders.
a general stewards his troops.
Yeah.
He's stewarding this class.
Yeah. So so you have responsibility involved in it.
Right.
All these things you mentioned are good answers for it. But you're taking care of responsibility.
Kind of the leader of that particular, like I said, manager or whatever.
Yeah.
Is a foreman like a steward? That's the
A
opposite.
foreman's kind of like a steward.
Yeah.
A worker is like a steward too, because they're given
How's that
responsibility.
job? I'm a steward of dishes.
A
Boom,
steward,
right
yeah.
there.
I get
That's
it.
right. So what's the difference between when you think of the terms servant and steward, and is there a relationship between these two things?
Steward is, say, the person that the owner relies on. And he's of service up to the owner. And the steward is of service to the people that's under him, because they have a place where they can go and get the answers of things they don't know, or jobs that get more information. Like you were saying the other day, I mean, if I don't know something, go to someone else that's been there or done that before, or someone that knows the job better than I do.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid. I mean, just you're of service for a reason, to get your money or whatever it is to pay you. I don't know. I haven't gotten to be of service of God yet, but I mean, as far as money-wise or job-wise, except for this place. But you're still of service of something to, I don't know, complete a job. I mean,
Okay, so
Yeah.
how is being okay? So the way I think about this is not a definition I found anywhere. This is just I talked to some different folks, and this deals with the difference between servant and steward, and thinking through it. So a servant is foundational for being a steward, but a steward carries responsibility for which they must answer later. A steward serves, but also will give an account for what they do. That's my own, the way that I thought about it. Well, that's not me. I got smart people that I'm friends with. I can't take credit for
What was the
that.
first one again? Say it again.
A servant is foundational for being a steward. So to be a steward, you are serving. You are serving someone else for, you're taking care of someone else's property or something like that, or interests. But a steward carries a responsibility for which they must answer later.
Like a teacher, for instance, person.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
it's in another
It's like the
class.
difference between working and volunteering,
Yeah.
if you look at it.
Yeah, you're volunteering. You're volunteering.
Serving.
It's kind of hard to fire a volunteer. I have had volunteers fired, but
Yeah, I know a couple that could be fired, but
yeah,
it's not my call.
but a
I
servant.
fired a girl on her last 2 weeks. She gave
Yeah.
a 2-week notice, and a week into it, I was like, I have to fire you. I was like, you're still working. You can't do this.
Yeah,
I'm firing you.
Steward of
Yeah.
service
On your last-
responsibility which they're to answer for.
yeah, and then a steward serves, but also will give an account. So who had? We may not have. Did anybody have Matthew 25?
I don't know if you signed that. I got Luke. Or whatever. Yeah, I had Luke's.
I was irresponsible and left my Lord's sword in the room, but
Okay. So we'll just later you can read Matthew 25, 14 through 30.
Matthew 24?
Matthew 25, 14 through 30. So I'm going to go on. How is being an employee like being a steward?
I mean, if you take it seriously, employees are the most, well, you're a business owner. I've been an employee and a manager.
Yep.
I like to think I'm a good manager. Well, I'm not a great manager, but I'm an okay manager because I'm a pretty good employee. I mean, it's essential. Good companies have good employees. Problematic businesses, it's just like any relationship, If
Mhm.
employees are bad, your business will be bad.
Mm-hmm.
I had a previous business partner, and he got in this habit of just blaming employees for everything, as though they were coming and showed up to spite his business,
Mm-hmm.
which is not true. I think it was, you can have there's good employees and there's bad employees, and they can go either way.
Yeah.
You really can. And fostering an environment that creates good employees and loyalty will create a good company.
Okay.
As opposed to the opposite.
Okay, so as like you mentioned this earlier, you're the steward of the dishes.
Yes, that was me.
So you have a responsibility of taking care of the dishes. And I mean, it's not just
one of those dishes to make sure they're not
he
disgusting.
does a great job.
Yeah.
He's a legend.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like, I do treat it kind of seriously. It's not like I joke that I'm like the head dishwasher, but it's
Yeah. No,
because it's
I've washed
not a
dishes
high
before.
level.
I've washed dishes before. That was like
Yeah,
my
yeah.
first job
It's not a
ever,
bad
washing
job.
dishes.
I mean, it is what it is, but the whole kitchen slows down.
It's the concept of maybe not just accountability in your job, or like the stuff that you're entrusted with. As far as when you're an employee, obviously, like even if you're, let's say you're working at a grocery store and you're just a guy that like cleans a lot and helps people
Mhm.
take stuff out of their cars, and James, you're on the wire.
Yeah, James, watch your foot there. That's okay. That's okay.
Anyways, yeah, like it's maybe not just the fact that you're accountable for things, but I think taking pride in even the smallest things.
Yeah.
Kind of
Super important.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because you could be like literally just cleaning a parking lot.
Ever imagine if
But-
someone didn't do that right?
Yeah.
A day, a week.
Oh yeah.
Toilets, right?
That's how the world falls into ants.
Yep.
Can you
Yep.
say,
Charlie.
You asked, how is an employee like a steward?
Yes.
And employees get to steward over each other, to not manage them, but to encourage them. I mean,
Yeah.
to make them accountable, and because if they don't act right, like they'll have to answer to others too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Patrick.
I used to have this foreman that used to tell me, because I went through an apprenticeship, and I came up with worked in the fire sprinkler and fire alarm, and I had this foreman used to tell me when the machine breaks down, we break down, and I can't allow that to happen. Like, if things were
Yeah.
not going the way they, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He'd be like, when the machine breaks down, we break down. meaning like the whole operation, the whole alarm system ain't gonna work, the fire alarm system ain't gonna work, people can die, loss of property, the fire sprinkler system
Yeah,
don't
right,
go
yeah.
off.
Yeah.
You know, they can point fingers at the installers and the contractor and even the foreman, even in the apprentice that installed it. If you don't know what you do, because there's NFPA code that goes with it. There's all kinds, you know, we have to go by blueprints, and when we install that stuff, fire protection is a major important thing. Like every time they put a building up now, it has to have a fire sprinkler system. It has to have fire
It's
alarm
over
system.
6,000 square feet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's multi-story, two-family dwelling units, it has to have fire sprinkler systems in it. The house is too
Yep.
far away from the fire department, it has to have fire sprinkler system in it, and fire alarm, fire extinguishers.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the building's real large, it has to have a fire pump, you know.
So what's your obsession, your thought about employee and the steward, was it?
So, as an employee, your employer has placed a trust in you,
Right, same thing.
like hired you, and they're trusting you and doing that, and you are stewarding that trust. They placed a trust in you and hiring you. And so that goes two ways. One of it is the trust that they've placed in you and your responsibility for that trust, and the other one is the activities that you carry out as an employee, whether it is washing the dishes or whether it is, you do ground or maintenance.
Maintenance,
Yeah, or whether it's doing the maintenance stuff around here. You do maintenance too. Where do you work, Robert?
I'm in the kitchen.
In kitchen.
He used
So,
to be the HDW.
I was the prior executive
He set
dishwasher.
the bar.
okay.
But then I got a promotion / a demotion because now
Okay.
I'm like the least of the cooks.
Okay.
So,
Executive
So-
dishwasher?
yeah, that was what
So-
I called it.
So-
Dishwashing technician.
So being a steward as an employee, you're stewarding the activities that you're doing, your responsibilities.
Yeah.
Those are you're answerable to your employer for those. And what you're really,
Or you're not just your employer, you're really responsible to your client.
yeah,
Yeah, you're
As
Yeah,
you said
your
that,
customer.
I was just thinking about some jobs like he was talking about have more responsibility than others.
yeah,
Like a doctor, a nurse,
Yeah.
or someone where it's really an issue of life and death.
Yeah.
Not only do you have to, you're a steward to your employer, but also to your client.
yeah,
Like you really
Yeah.
have to have their bed. That's why they have doctors'
Yeah.
creeds and codes.
yeah, yeah,
We have rules.
yeah.
Society's set up the way it is. We don't all just
Yeah.
follow it.
Well, and you
So-
can lose an insurance policy if you overuse it.
Yep.
I worked for a company that didn't check somebody else's insurance, and they had a huge asbestos lawsuit. And they had a hard time getting their insurance, the big company
Yeah.
that we worked on.
Yep.
They steward you, employees who steward you to be dependable, trustworthy, honest, and responsible.
Yeah. So let me ask, what qualities does a steward need to possess to carry out or what qualities does a steward need to be able to carry out their responsibilities?
Punctuality.
Hmm?
Maybe honesty.
Yeah.
Is a good one.
Yeah. Those are all good things.
Punctuality.
Good. All right. So who's got 1 Corinthians 4:2? Charlie.
Okay. 4:2. Those who have been given a trust must prove that they are faithful. I care very little if I am judged by you or by any human court. I don't even judge myself. I don't feel I have done anything wrong. But that doesn't mean that I am guilty. The Lord judges me. So don't judge anything before the appointed time.
Yeah. That went a little bit along.
Okay.
A couple scriptures
It says,
longer.
those who have
but-
been given trust must prove that they are faithful.
Yep, yep. So your employer has given you a trust. God has given you a trust. Ultimately, this is you and God.
Right.
Okay, but it's on you to be faithful with that responsibility, with that stewardship. So trustworthiness is part of this, being trusted with that responsibility, with that stewardship. So when you break the word trustworthy down, it really means worthy of trust. I mean, not to be real complex there. I mean, it's trustworthy. It means to be worthy of trust.
Like God gives us trust, and we must prove that we're faithful in that trust.
Yeah. Okay, so what does being trustworthy mean to you personally in your life?
It means being able to handle the responsibilities or tasks that are given, or be able to keep maybe not a secret, but keep a topic or a job
Yeah.
at what it's supposed to be at,
Yeah.
or keep a deal or an agreement made.
Yeah. Patrick?
Say, plus it's your word and your bond as a man.
Yeah.
I mean, if your word
Yeah.
ain't legit, then you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That ain't a good thing.
Yeah. Okay. So what qualities would a good trustworthy person have? I think you covered some of these, describing these things, attributes. These are attributes of trustworthiness.
Basically the same thing with the last, whatever we talked about with the steward or whatever, but reliability, honesty, maybe a good moral compass, maybe, always tells the truth.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Yeah. So what makes someone untrustworthy?
Stealing, breaking their word,
Stealing,
Yeah,
breaking
not
the
showing
word.
on time, and things like that.
Accusing people of stealing.
dishonesty.
They're going giving, just giving a customer less than what the contract, if you have a
Yeah.
contract involved, or
Yeah.
a word contract even.
Yeah.
Not meeting up to your word.
Okay.
The music they listen to.
Okay.
By
So
the time they were born, I'm just kidding.
So how would you go about developing the character trait of being trustworthy in your life?
I'd say,
One more time, could you say it one more time?
Okay, so trustworthiness
Right.
is a character trait.
Right.
So you have character is like an overarching thing, and it's made up of various character traits or character attributes.
integrity.
So one of which is trustworthiness. That's part of having good character would be to be trustworthy.
Consistency.
So how do you go about developing that character trait in yourself?
I'd say have it in your mind, or maybe make a habit of, when you do get asked to do something, or when you do
Yeah.
have an opportunity to prove that you can be trustworthy or practice that, like, I think it's important to have in the back of your mind, like, what can you do in the certain situation that you're given that would reflect, obviously, trustworthy values or whatever. And I think maybe it's not as simple as just like, oh, well, so-and-so asked me to do something, so I'm just going to do it, so they trust me again. But I think there's a sense of, especially with some addicts like me, like there was a certain point in time where I felt like I could be trustworthy, but I didn't really care if I was or if I wasn't.
Yeah.
I think you have to remind yourself every day, like, what can I do to be trustworthy and what good comes out of it. So, or then just practicing and understanding what a trustworthy person really is like maybe not as easy as it sounds, but I think that's what I would do.
Okay, so let me go on that, and that's a great thing you said there. So you said what good comes out of being trustworthy.
Yeah.
Let's drill down into that more. What good comes out of being trustworthy?
Is the answer in the book? Because I'm still trying to figure all that out. I mean,
I think it comes from being good.
What good comes from being trustworthy?
You end up with a reputation.
And how does
If we
that
ask
build on
the
itself?
opposite of it, it should, we can ask what comes from not being trustworthy.
Yep.
And it will dictate, everything is based off trust. If you are reliable and people can count on you, people will look to you and they will know that they can trust you. And there's levels to trust, and they're hard to earn, easy to lose.
So maybe,
Accountability.
maybe like positive relationships, whether it's just work or with
I
family.
mean, isn't that the basis of a relationship? Because if you do not trust someone, I do not trust someone, we cannot be friends.
I like
Yeah.
it. that-
And once you do something that is untrustworthy, we are going to go farther away from the road of anything non-existent. Frankly, we put up fences and alarms in neighborhoods and have police and all of these things to keep untrusted people away.
Yeah.
And to people, even including myself, who have lost trust in the eyes of the judicial system, my family,
Yep.
some of my friends. It's a terrible position to be in.
Yeah.
Because when people look at you, they no longer look at you as a person who's accountable or that they can count on.
Yeah.
Now the opposite of that.
Yeah.
In the eyes of the judicial system, once you're incarcerated or marked with crimes,
Yeah.
you're not to be trusted with anything. They won't even let you live anywhere.
Yeah.
They won't even give you a job.
Yep.
They will not let you live, work. What up? They
Okay.
basically take away your freedom
Back
Okay.
call you.
on the
Yeah,
outside and
yeah.
the inside.
Yep.
I like it, being trustworthy, I have responsibility.
Yeah.
People rely on that.
Yeah.
I like that when if I say something, then people believe or know, or I believe and I know that I'm either going to do it or it's going to get done.
Yeah.
I like it. It's like a confidence thing.
Yeah.
All I have in this work is my work and my boss.
Yeah.
I don't break them from you.
So going back to developing trustworthiness, the attribute of trustworthiness inside yourself is like we talked about last week. Doing small things consistently over time builds big changes.
Build a reputation
Yeah.
that only
So,
gets better.
so rebuilding, like Peter, you were talking about rebuilding that trust. You take small actions done consistently over time, produces big results, produces big changes. That
There's no other way to do it besides those small changes because, easy to lose, hard to get back.
Yep.
Well, time is a big deal when it comes
Yeah.
to anything almost, because if you really want to, if you want something to be enduring, it's going to take time.
Yeah.
It's just they go together, sort of.
Yeah. And you have to walk it out. It's like people talk about walking out their faith,
Yeah. There you go.
and that is done, a little step at a time, over consistently. I mean, it may not be a little step, but it's like you walk that out every day. You get up, you take those steps, you keep walking forward, you keep going. Charlie.
Like, I'm starting to learn to trust God
Yep.
in small
Yep.
steps that He'll take care of me
Yeah.
a little bit at a time.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. That is something. Let me tell you what. So I spent time in Comm Corps, and my daughter didn't talk to me for 16 months when I went after that, and so I know the trying to find a place to live and get a job and all that kind of stuff. I've been there. So my daughter didn't talk to me for 16 months, and I said, you know what? I'm going to continue to be her dad and love her, and if there's an opportunity to do stuff with her, I'm going to take it, and I'm going to trust that God is going to redeem this over time, and I'm going to walk my life out as a follower of Him over time.
I had something
And-
like that happen with my daughter.
Right on, though.
Yeah, and that went from her not talking. The most she would say to me was like "F you,"
Very proud of you, man. Right on.
and I said, you know what? I'm going to trust that God is going to put this back together. I'm going to walk my life out. It's going to one step after another, and that started with, hey, can we get some coffee? And so then we'd go get coffee. And she'd be like, all right. And I'd have like $5, and she'd be like, let's go to Starbucks. And I'd be like, all right, that's good with me. I've only got $5. I didn't tell her that, but I was like,
Yeah.
I spent all my money right there.
Ordered the smaller. I would did that too.
I didn't get coffee. She got coffee.
Yeah, I would order the small
Yeah.
thing, and
Thank
then
you
tell
for
them
sharing
my
that.
2 daughters to order what
Yeah.
they wanted.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, and it was just doing that over time. So that
Active patience.
Yeah, patience is part of that. But when I say, doing those small things consistently over
And
time,
trusting God will take care of it.
trust in God.
Amen.
Amen. All right, let me pray, and then we'll get some
Thank you
lunch
very
and see.
much,
We'll
dude.
see how clean these dishes are.
So you want to bus, huh?
I was on the morning
Yeah,
shift.
there.
No,
So you want
no
to bus?
guarantee.
Yeah. So, Father, I thank you for these men here, Lord. I ask that you would grow them and develop them in the love that you have for them, Father, Lord, that you would just reveal yourself to them, Lord. In the name of Jesus, amen.
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 All right.
Football.
Yeah.